Greetings. It's been a while, and I'm testing the waters to see if I'm ready to do another video. I apologize for the angle. My table situation has been compromised, so if I appear to be looking down on you or at you, my apologies. That is certainly not the attitude in which we are recording this video. My table is not working. I had something of a screw issue where it's not catching. So I decided, instead of recording and having the table sink as I talk to you, and slowly this table goes down, and it'll end up at this angle anyway, I figured we just start with the lowered angle, which I'm not at all pleased with. Again, I don't like to be looking down my nose. So today, I feel like I'm testing the waters. It's been a while, about 2 months, I guess, since I've done a video, and I'm not even sure I'm going to use this one. So we'll see how far it gets. In the past month, yeah, it's May now. In April, I was honored to be a guest on Sister Bethy's talk show, and we did a presentation on the gods, and I'll try to link it in the description box. Um, so Sister Bethy was kind enough to have me, as a guest, to talk about my discovery, which it's not a new discovery. It's just that sometimes we don't put the pieces together, and people are not helping us to put the pieces together. So we're left to figure it out on our own, and they're hoping we don't. They're hoping we don't. Our country is occupied by a foreign government, uh, owned by Britain and the Church of Rome. So the objective is to turn the people of the land, the original people of the land, the original objective was to make us foreigners on our land. So then America becomes a free for all where the foreigner actually gets treated better than what they're calling the Aboriginal copper colored people. So if any of you fellow Americans, the indigenous ones, if you ever felt that you were being, say, less respected than a brandy new foreigner coming to your land, your feeling was probably correct. It was probably accurate. Uh, if you have been classified or reclassified as black, which means dead in law, then you are definitely on the bottom of this totem pole, uh, where we have people coming from other countries that are basically, I want to say that what I suspect is that those who have the hair texture of a Caucasian, they will be called Caucasian. And if they're not called Caucasian, they will be given a status that is higher than that of anyone that has been designated as black, African American, or colored. So, what does that mean? It means what we said just now, that any foreigner coming in here is going to come in on top of the Aboriginal, who has been pretty much, they were not merciful. We didn't get second place. We got bottom, rock bottom legal designation. And when I say legal designation, sorry, when I say legal designation, what I mean is we are actually considered nationless. So that means there are no laws that really protect us. And we see this displayed in the multiple murders by authorities. Uh, Now, I'm not going to say that the entire police force is down with this. My father was a police officer, and I doubt very much from what I've known of him. I mean, he died when I was pretty young. I was about 7 years old. And what I know of him, he he wouldn't have been one of these cops. I believe that, and this is just my stab at it, I suspect that the cops that are part of the shooting scenarios are actually, shall we say, and I probably said this before, forgive me if I'm repeating myself. Um, let's say in the fraternity, they are higher ranking than the other cops. Any fraternity should have a pyramid scheme, which means that there are those in the fraternity that are higher ranking and more in the know than those who's, like we say, maybe a rookie would definitely be, at the bottom. But as you grow higher, I don't know exactly how it breaks down, but I do know these are fraternities. Pretty much all the I want to say civil servant positions or civil servant jobs. I want to say, I believe, you could look it up yourself, but I'm going freestyle here. But, well, let's just put it this way. The cops definitely have a fraternity. I want to say it might be even across the board, like there's like a fraternity, a fraternal organization. Okay. So, so what was I saying? Yeah, I was saying that, as quote unquote black, oops, let's get those air quotes, as quote unquote, let's see if we can get the video looking all straight. Okay. So as quote unquote, blacks, Negro, colored, African American, we are at the bottom of every totem pole there is. As indigenous, we become the highest on the totem pole. You see, that's how it works. I want to, just an example that I often give. If we go to Germany, a German is going to have more rights than we as visitors or foreigners. They're going to have the superior land rights. So that's what we gave up when we decided that we would call ourselves, we didn't decide it, but it was somewhat coerced onto our people. And I can vouch that our people have fallen deeply in love with the term black. Me, thank God I'm out of that relationship. I don't need to be black, especially when I can be an American Indian like I am, or like some of us are scared of the term Indian because we really have it etched in our mind that that's, the Tonto Indian is the Indian, and that's not the case. They are the, let's say, fractional bloods. They're not full blood. So say in the German example, as a German, I would have superior rights over an incoming foreigner. I would have protections over an incoming foreigner. But basically, it boils down to land rights. It would be, my right to to be native, native to Germany, if it was Germany. So I'm realizing a lot of our people, they don't have a mind to understand that this is why you don't want to be black. You don't want to call yourself black. You don't want to call yourself African American. You don't want to call yourselves Negro, and you don't want to call yourself colored. Uh, it's I tried to explain this before, but um, these are legal classifications, meaning they're not just said to be said. They have a legal function which renders those who have taken on these misnomers, it renders them, once again, they have no rights that the government have to honor. It's there's no security there. You know, you're not protected as you would be if you were, for instance, what they calling Aboriginal, and which we are, as those who have been reclassified as Negro. What we were before, we were reclassified as Negro, colored, Black, African American. Before they came up with these misnomers, we were just American. We were the American Indian. That was our, that was our, like that was our native land is America and not Africa. I don't know how to explain it any more than that. So, do I want to touch on that? Maybe we'll make it a little bit freestyle. Um, it has been on my mind to touch on the different citizenships. So maybe I will try to speak a little bit to the different citizenships. There is a misunderstanding that if you're not a United States citizen, then you will not be protected by the United States, for example, military. So I realize our people, and you know what? It's because we're not being taught about how our own system works. So of course we would think that if we give up our United States citizen, our United States citizenship, then we are no longer part of the United States. But if there's three different American citizenships, let's call it that, then you have at least two other options which will still render you as belonging to or in America. You are still protected by those rights, even more so than you would as a United States citizen. So maybe I'll try to keep it short because it is such a topic that it could go long, and I'm kind of doing this freestyle. So so I'm reading from this book. This is by Anna Wright. Anna Wright's singer, I believe her name is. Well, you can see it on the bottom. Anna or Maria Wright singer. This is a very, very, very informative book when you want to deal with your citizenship. So I want to start off by saying, once again, as Aboriginals or Indigenous, we would have sovereignty even over these types of citizenships, from what I understand, and so in other words, we would have birthright, status, indigenous status, whereas these citizenships mostly are for the foreigners. So, I want to say that as an indigenous, I I'll put you this way. I have a little more studying to do because although I know that as an indigenous American, my status is superior to any foreigners, people, you know, that are not indigenous to America. So when I talk about this, there is a citizenship that would serve us as, as people of color. There is one of these citizenships that would serve us better than the other two. And what I'm trying to say is that if we, how do I say, if we have not established ourselves as indigenous, then from what I understand, from what I'm learning, the next best thing, while you are, learning to change your status to from black to American Indian, which it's not that easy. I mean, I'm sorry, it's not that. Lately I've learned it's not even that big a deal. It's about making a public statement. Like, say for instance, I'm doing this video, I can declare right now, and once I post the video, I'm making a public statement that I'm indigenous to America. My ancestors were here before the colonizer got here, so I have superior rights over any colonizer, even their corporation. Any of their laws, It's a little tricky to explain because even with one of these citizenships, you will not be subject to federal laws, So let's try to look at this. So the breakdown is there's 3 different citizenships that an American can have. So whereas some people are saying, don't give up your United States citizenship because then you ain't going to be protected at all. Well, not if I pick up one of the other 2 citizenships that I can lawfully and legally have. So what I want to do is try to read off those different citizenships. Before I do that, I'll say this. The federal corporation was put in place to serve us. It's in this book, but to serve as our international commerce. They were not there to dominate us. And when they do start to dominate us by even forcing any kind of medical shots or jabs on us, they are acting outside of their jurisdiction in terms of if we were in our proper persona and in our proper citizenship. The citizenship we want, that I did not say earlier, we want state citizenship. And we don't want to be citizens of the state of New York, for instance, but we would like to be like New York State citizens, which is different. State of New York is another corporate entity or offshoot of the federal corporation. So yeah. So I want to say that, yes, the U.S. citizen, it's not even necessary to be that if we are a state citizen, if you can get that. So a citizenship was imposed upon us that misled us into thinking it was just the same thing as being a state citizen, and it's not. As a state citizen, you are not subject to federal. They are subject to you. They work for you. You see? But basically, a United States citizen is like an employee of the corporation. You see? Because it's a corporation. Corporations don't really do citizens, but they do employees. Okay? I'll see if I can read and, maybe it'll become a little more clearer. So I'm reading from part 3 of this book. I'm sorry, I didn't practice my, no, that's not the one I wanted. Part 3, okay? Who are you? Who you are, who they are, or what they are. This is part 3 of You Know Something is Wrong When, a great book by Anna Reitzinger. Okay, so the first citizen, the best citizen, is called American State Citizens. Okay? The flag that he has, that's a peace flag. None of us have ever seen that flag. Most of us haven't. The flag with the horizontal stripes, that's a war flag. That's the flag we're supposed to use only when we're at war. So the corporation, in order for it to take dominance, it has us in a perpetual state of war. Because in a state of war, that's when you're getting, your executive orders. Basically, the president is like acting like a dictator more than a constitutional respecting president of the corporation. So, but let's look. See, I just want to point that out. We're on the land when we are an American state citizen. So we are now living, breathing human beings, because living, breathing human beings live on land. They don't live on the sea. They can't unless they're fish or mermaids or mermen or something of that nature. So what we as human beings, living, breathing human beings, we want a citizenship that respects us on the land we stand on, okay? We don't want one that transfers us to the ocean where its jurisdiction is, so that it can say that we're lost at sea. So a United States citizen is basically lost at sea, because that is the jurisdiction of the federal United States Corporation. It's the sea, because they were supposed to handle our commerce. We have cargo coming in from trade, or, well, they don't call it trade, they call it commerce. When you're a land and soil jurisdiction, you call it trade. I believe that's what that would be, and if I'm wrong, I'll try to correct it later, or in my description box. So let's read about what American state citizens are entitled to and what they are. They are all living people, as you see the first bullet point. They all have natural and unalienable rights. See, they don't have privileges and benefits. An American state citizen has unalienable rights. You see? Those can't be taken away by the corporation. When you work for a corporation, there's certain rules and regulations that a corporation has, right? So, for instance, they have something to say about how you dress. They don't want you to wear shorts. In their bylaws and stuff, you can't wear shorts. So that kind of thing, that's when you're in a corporation, because you're under their jurisdiction, you see? But when you have unalienable rights, you're not part of a corporation. You are on the land and soil. You're a human being. You're not a person, which in legal terms, a person can be another corporation. So you might have jumped down with my pontificating so much, but where do we leave off? Okay. all have beneficial interest in the land and its resources. All are guaranteed a limited republic style of government. A democracy is really mob rule, which means you have to go with whatever the majority vote said you have to go with. You don't. So your personal unalienable rights are superseded by a democratic process that says it's a numbers game. So if 51 out of 100 people voted for instance, abortion, then then abortion, I'm sorry, I want to say anti-abortion. So if 51 percent or 51, people voted that you can't have an abortion, then you don't have a say. You have to do what the majority has said. In a republic form of government, what I learned, and I think I talked about it in one of my videos, is that you still have your personal unalienable rights, where you can say, you know what, I still have a right as how should we say, what do they call it, per the Declaration of Independence, stuff like that. So, man, I want to make the distinction of the Declaration of Independence. Is that what I'm thinking of? The Bill of Rights? Or one, I want to say that the constitutions, basically for the corporation, those are rules that they have to go by, where we, the people, was it the Declaration of Independence that gives us our standing? Either way, it only applies to this kind of citizen, an American state citizen. That means I, for instance, am a citizen or a national of New York State, not the state of New York, which is part of a franchise of the corporation. So you want to read more of the wonderful status of being an American national, or a state national is another word, or a state citizen. I personally have sort of like, I've grown kind of allergic to the word citizen, because I really don't want to be associated with well, we'll look at the other forms of citizenship. I don't want to confuse myself with those two. So I prefer to use national, like a New York national, or New Yorker, or state national, as opposed to the word citizen, because it just reminds me too much. That's my personal thing. It just reminds me too much of my old status as a federal citizen, which, as we will look at shortly, you really don't want to be. Some people don't get it. But again, as an American state national, you are still entitled to any protections that this government has to offer, including the military. Okay? So, in other words, you can be this kind of state citizen, American state citizen, and not be subject to the British corporation or any of their statutes or any of their codes. Those are all for corporate entities. So we are in a position where we have to rebirth ourselves as living people. You see, at the top of the list, living people. I'm not a corporation, so why would I want to have benefits and privileges that a corporation offers when I have so much more as a living people, especially as an indigenous? So look at that list, okay? All are protected by national trust indentures, international treaties, and commercial agreements. So just a way of saying we're protected, you know. We're not a foreigner, you know, by not being a United States citizen, because we are an American state citizen. As long as you're a citizen of one of the states, you're considered part of this United States, not the corporation. Okay? Not the all caps version, which that's the corporation. All capital, you know. Okay. So we all protected by natural trust, indentures, international treaties, and commercial agreements. All have more civil authority on the land than the entire federal government. You want to lean in and kiss that one. You want to lean in and kiss that bullet point. You see, they don't get to rule over an American state citizen. Okay? This is what our forefathers intended. And when I say forefathers, I want to say I believe that this is what our Indian ancestors, as well as those who are breaking from under British domination, this is what they meant when they wanted us to, when they talked about, you know, the Declaration of Independence and all of that. This is what they were talking about. But the corporation created two other citizenships that we'll have to take a look at. And I think I'm going to call it a night, because I really want to be more to the point, you know. I tend to like to drift, and I don't want to do that. So let's look. Again, all have more civil authority on the land than the entire federal government. This is what we want, Americans. This is what we were fighting for. This is what we had as American Indians. But again, our forefathers agreed that, okay, we'll how do you say, we'll do business with you. You know, this is how we'll do it. And they had a lot to in how our Constitution was drafted and stuff like that, the original one. Okay. Next, we have been at peace since 1865. Okay. We inhabit the land of their states. So an American state citizen inhabits the land of their states. For example, Ohio State is inhabited by Ohioans. So your nationality, we have this big argument, what's my nationality? Well, let me tell you, you don't want to be a Moor, because there are none of our states called Morocco. Okay? It has to be a state. And even if we go with the Morocco that is in, Indiana or Illinois? I never remember for some reason, because I'm not really interested. But that's not a state. The state is Illinois or Indiana. I believe it's Illinois, okay? So where we have some more saying that, Morocco's in Illinois. Yeah, but it's not a state. It's just like a borough, or I don't know, a county in Illinois. So we're talking about state citizenship, a state national. So you wouldn't want to be, what? You can't be a Moroccan national unless you're talking about the Morocco in Africa. Okay? So, we fly the civil flag of the United States of America Major. Okay? So I am believing that would be the flag he has in his hand. I believe that's what they're talking about. Yeah, the United States of America Major. So that's the only flag we have, right? So that's us coming together with all the stars, all the 50 or 51 states, I believe. See? But that's the land soil jurisdiction. It's not the corporation. Okay, so we got that right. You can pause it if you need to. I've been looking at it for a while. Did we clean our nails today? I thought we did. They're a little amber. I don't like that either. Okay, so that is your first and premier. It is the type of citizenship that we will still have protections, just like the United States citizen. But as we saw, we will have all we all have more civil authority on the land than the entire federal government. That's what we want. Why do you think they are running amok on us? Why do you think it's looking like we don't have a choice in what they decide in the corporation? It's because they know that we're not this kind of citizen, most of us. So they're not dealing with American state citizens, because we would have more authority, which means we could say no to any of their mandates. Those are not lawful. Okay, those statutes are for other corporations and how they interact with corporate entities and our international commerce. They're not for us. For example, okay, we're gonna let this go for a minute. For example, one example that comes to mind, and I hope I get the language right. If I don't, I'll have to correct myself in the description box. Thank God for the description box. When we are in our car, if we're in a corporation and we're doing business, they call it motor vehicle. So we assume that we fall into that category of operating a motor vehicle. That's if you're doing business. But if you're one of we the people or an American state citizen, you're not driving a motor vehicle. You're driving, now what do they call it? Is it an automobile? I'll have to correct myself if I'm wrong. But you see, simply what I'm trying to say is, depending on the term you use, that describes whether you're operating in commerce or you're operating as a national, a free person of the land. So also, you're not, I think another word is driving. The word for a real life person is traveling. When I'm in my automobile, I think the word is, I am traveling. I am not doing business. I am not involved in commerce. So what I'm trying to say is, there are things we do as regular living, breathing people that go beyond commerce. We're not always involved in commerce. But what the federal government has done to its United States citizens is it makes everything they do as if it's commerce. Why would they do that? Well, they know that as a United States citizen, they have the upper hand over you, the corporation. All they have to do is say you're operating in commerce, and so commerce is the jurisdiction of the United States corporation. They have rights or authority over commerce. But again, if I'm just hopping in my car to travel from one distance to another, maybe visit a friend, that's not commerce. If I'm going to the store, that's not commerce. Okay, so let's look at the next level of citizenship. Ooh, I don't want to tear my book. This is the United States. The United States citizen. Okay? So look at the flag already. We have a different flag. I guess we're always at war when we're dealing. I kind of don't want to show you the last. I want to save my last citizenship as a surprise because that's the one that everybody is. So we don't want to look at it yet. So how can we not show that? Maybe I'll fold it because so I don't want to rip my book in half. Okay. So here's the next one. Oh man, come on now. See, when I do it this way, okay, I guess I have to fold it because it's just too difficult. How can I do this? That's how we do it. Yeah, good enough. Okay, so you can feast your eyes on the limitations of this United States citizen. Now, this jurisdiction, as you see, is of the sea. It's a sea jurisdiction. So again, why would a living, breathing human being want to be in this jurisdiction? You'd be swimming for the rest of your life. And the corporation is going to consider you lost at sea if you never get on land, right? So, is this what we want, class? No. But this is what we got. Now let's look. You're a Tory or an internationalist, so you're a foreigner, You're a foreigner as United States citizens. So, can be living people born in federal enclaves or corporations. Okay, so they're taking you out of the land of the living because you've entered the corporation. United States citizens have only civil rights, which are privileges granted by Congress. What Congress giveth, Congress can taketh away. Trust. So, it's almost like your employer, They can give you a Christmas party one year, as my company used to do. And then another year they can say, we're not doing that. that was a little benefit, but we're not doing that this year. I wanted the Christmas party. I like dancing at the club at the Christmas party. Well, you're going to have to go find, another way to have that Christmas party. See, the corporation's Christmas party is the good one. Where they spend some money. You got the big, prawn shrimps in the shrimp dip. You got all that food and stuff like that. They go all out. That's corporate. But if you make up your own little Christmas party, you might not be able to have all those shrimps and seafood. You have some crackers and cheese, stuff like that, some fruit punch, and somebody can spike the fruit punch, you're not going to have the full bar, It's a lot of money, y'all. It's not going to be at the best venue. Like, where do we have some of our parties? Oh my God, I believe we have one on South Street Seaport. Them places, they ain't cheap, y'all. You got to have... See, the corporation gives you things, but then the corporation can say, you know what? That shit costs too much money. We ain't doing that no more. Okay? We used to also get, every 3 months, we would get a bonus for perfect attendance. I think it was $100. And my corporation shall remain nameless because they're not. I don't consider them the worst. In fact, they've done good by us. But again, they don't have to. This is not something they have to do. So, as we were saying, we only have civil rights, which are privileges granted by Congress. We accept any kind of government, including oligarchy and legislative democracy. The two worst forms of government, let me tell you. We want a republic. That's what we want. So right now we have, if we're a United States citizen, we have any kind of government they wish to have, including oligarchy and legislative democracy. I want to add fascism too. Fascist. I believe that's one of them. When it's the corporations, because they like corporations. Now, if you're a corporation, the corporation is going to really treat you good because they know you're a fake entity, and they still hold rank over you. You see. So, the next bullet point: they regard the Constitution for the United States of America as an equity contract only. So, in other words, it's not anything. How do I say that? They've reduced something that the country was built on to something you have to contract into. We didn't have to contract when we were under the Constitution, the first one. It wasn't something we had to contract into. It was known that's what we drew up for the corporation to go by. But once they changed it from the Constitution for the United States of America, because it's for the United States because it was given to the corporation by the people, we the people. But they drew up another document, changed a few words, and called it, we don't know how law works. We don't know that when you change one word of a contract that you agreed to, it becomes another document entirely, and it's no longer the contract that you originally had, which the Constitution for the United States was the original one. They changed it into the Constitution of the United States, which means the corporation is given their Constitution to you, because now you're a corporate entity as a United States citizen. Basically, you're working for the government instead of them working for you. Okay? No civil authority on the land. You have no authority on the land. You're a resident, If you buy a house as a United States citizen, look on your deed or title, and you will see that you're a tenant. So the corporation owns it, and you're just a tenant on it. Okay? So you don't own land. It's not yours really. No civil authority on the land. Okay? Have been at constant war since 1860, is it? Since 1860. Because that's the flag. And then you put some tassels on it. I think that's the next citizenship, maybe. Because that's your Admiralty flag, which it should be on this one too, because it is the sea. It's the sea jurisdiction, and sea jurisdiction is Admiralty law. Okay? So, yeah, that's the next bullet point. Merely reside on the land. See? You just reside on the land of the American states. So when I was tricked into becoming, and I believe this happens with the birth certificate. So when I was tricked into becoming a United States citizen, I belong to the District of Columbia, basically. And though I live in New York, I'm not a New Yorker because basically I'm a resident of New York, you see? But with the first form of citizenship, I'm a New Yorker and I'm not a resident. That is my nationality. So basically, the nationality, well, if a corporation could have a nationality, someone did say, nations are basically operating in the corporate, corporate world. So what was I going to say? I am subject to the owners of the corporation. Who are the owners of the corporation? That would be Britain. So if I'm not the first kind of citizen that we saw, the American state, I want to say national, if I'm not an American state national, then I'm not on the land and soil like I am in that first example. I am a resident of the state that I'm in because I'm basically, again, part of the District of Columbia. You know, I'm under the District of Columbia, and they have me as a resident, almost like they're contracting me out to another state, but really, I'm in their jurisdiction, which is the C jurisdiction. Okay, we fly United States citizens fly the Stars and Stripes war flag of the United States. I don't know why it has to be a constant war with that flag. It could be because the war is against who is the war against? I'm guessing it will have to be the first form of citizen that we looked at, the national, the American state national. Because the war would be it's a constant war because I guess if you wake up and change yourself out of this status, then you become, you know what, I'm just going to say it's a war against what the forefathers intended. So I don't know, I'm not sure how to interpret that. Like in other words, even if we are in the United States jurisdiction of the sea, I don't know why it's considered that we're at war. I think I know, because they never undeclared war. That's why. So in a constant state of war, once again, you have the martial law. So you have to be in a constant state of war so that the people's voice is overridden. That's why you're in a constant state of war, because it was never undeclared. When you declare martial law, that has to be undeclared. So they have no intention of doing that in the corporation. So let's look at the final one. So we're getting progressively worse with these types of citizenships. And let's look at the last one. Now, this is the one that I believe we all are, or we might be a combination of this and the previous one. Now, this is all capitals. Did you notice that? It's, these things when you're dealing with law, you really got to look at the letters and if they're capitalized or if they're lowercase. It makes all the difference in the world. Now, most of us have noticed that all of our bills and stuff like that, tax forms and stuff like that, have our name looking just like that, all capitals. You see, if you don't do it that way, you're speaking to the human being. The living, breathing human being has a name that actually is supposed to be in all lowercase, which I didn't know. You see, they've progressively moved us away from. Let's look at it. So, okay, this is where I hope it will make sense. If our name is in upper and lowercase, that means we're still in the jurisdiction of the C. If the product has the same format as the jurisdiction it's under. So if your name is upper and lowercase, I believe that puts you in. That's hinting to you being in the C jurisdiction. If your name is in all caps, well, as you see, you're a debt slave. Well, we'll get to that. So, okay, look, there's not even a list of what you get because you're just a debt slave. See, with this, you got a little more something, something. With the, oh gosh, with this one, you got a little bit of something, something. So I do believe that we are either one or, how do I say this? If what I studied is right, this was for Negroes. The last one, this one, that was for the slaves. So we never got what do you call it? What do you call it? When Lincoln, what did he do with slave? What's the word? I hate when I stuck on a word, but you know, freeing the slaves, emancipating. That's the word, emancipating. No, we didn't get. See, when we got emancipated, we were supposed to get. We were supposed to get this, the first American state citizen. You see, land jurisdiction, but they didn't want to give us that, so they actually created this one. Okay, this was specifically, from what this book says, this was specifically for the you know, what they're calling the slaves, indentured servants. This was a citizenship that we got. See, we were saying we wanted equal rights. Well, we should have said we wanted equal unalienable rights. So they said, you want... So they created this citizen. This is the United States citizen in all caps. United States citizen. I wish they didn't put it in that font, though, because we just want to see it as it is. And, you know, that looks very stylized. You almost can't even read it. But the idea is... Okay, so let's read. And as of 1868, another class of U.S. citizen was added. The United States citizen, all caps. And look at the flag he's holding. He's not anywhere on the United States. He's part of that city-state thing with Rome, Britain, and the United States. That's a whole different flag. You see? And he has a ball and chain because he's pledged to the debts of the corporation. So when the corporation decides to chip you, you have a value. You are pledged to the debt. So instead of having you pay the debt you never did pay, because that's why we were bankrupt, you'll just be owned. When in a bankruptcy, you can't own anything, but if you owe your creditor owns you. Can you imagine that this was the goal of our de facto corporation, government? These citizens are debt slaves, have no rights, no legal standing, and are enslaved by perpetual debt. This is the worst. And I do believe at this time, this is the prevailing citizenship. When people say, I'm not giving up my United States citizenship, well, then you will be a perpetual debt slave. Okay? So I did this video because I'm trying to show you don't have to be this kind of citizen. There are 3 you can choose from, and the first choice is the best of all, because now the government is working for you again, whether they want to admit that or not. Okay, so this is the type of citizenship that I changed myself from. I believe they have us playing with both of these types now. I think my guess is that perhaps there are more Caucasians in the first 2 categories of citizens. No, actually, no, because no, it's not, because we're all now one of these two. They don't want anyone to have any dominion over the corporation. So these are the two citizenships. So I would say perhaps Caucasians have the upper and lowercase version for by and large, if not all. And I would say the quote unquote African Americans, they are the last, that one with all caps, the debt slave. Because you started out as slaves, you see. So they said, no, we won't make you work your poor little black body. We'll just make you pay for everything that we owe. Which is the same. Which is, really, they're both shitty deals. Either way. I was trying to say one is better than the other. I don't think so. Because I think the one that is more insidious, which would be this one, it has to be worse because no one realizes that they are debt slaves. In the other slavery, you knew you were a slave in the physical slavery. But now everybody thinks, I ain't giving up my United States citizenship. I had to. But I did not become a foreigner. I just became an American state national. You see, I don't like that word. I don't want to get it confused with the other ones. I really don't. So I will lean toward, it's the same thing. As I lean toward being a national. Okay, so there you have it. This is the best one, and I'll let you look at it again. Feast your eyes on what you could have if you didn't believe you had to be a debt slave. This is what you could have. This is what we had. This is what it was all for, people. Do you think we fought in all those wars only to have that last form of citizenship that we just looked at? Hell no, as Oprah said. Hell no. This is what we were fighting for. This is what all it was about. Land of the free. Well, the people were supposed to be free as well, not just the land. Look at that. That's what I'm entitled to, y'all. That's why I changed to this form of a citizenship. And this video can act as my declaration. And I'm showing you that this is what, this is my public announcement. I put it on record, okay? Okay. So we are just about an hour. And maybe I will close, like I said. We could look at, I was thinking of looking at where it really is spelled out. Maybe I should. Maybe I should go a little over an hour. Because this is for my people, okay? So we just learned that, well, let's read. We're going to read in the beginning so we can get a little perspective of how these citizenships came to be. From the very beginning of the American story, there were three kinds of United States. Three kinds of United States. Okay. Number one was the land jurisdiction, okay, of the several states. Number two was the sea jurisdiction, operated by the United States of America. That was the original corporation. And number three is the business organization doing business as the United States, charged with supplying the 19 governmental services the federal government is supposed to supply to the states. I want to read this with you. You need to see this, okay? I don't want to read it by myself. You might get a better understanding if you could read with me. So that was what I just read. From the very beginning of the United States story, there were three kinds of United States. The land jurisdiction of the several states, number one. Number two, the sea jurisdiction operated by the United States of America. Number three, the business organization doing business as the United States, charged with supplying the 19 governmental services the federal government is supposed to supply the states. And that is this upper lowercase. Okay. Okay. Can I get it there? It should not surprise us then that there have always been three kinds of citizenship potentially involved. The land jurisdiction allows only one kind of citizenship, state citizenship. So to be on the land, you have to have a state citizenship. You see? The sea jurisdiction, known as federal jurisdiction, see, this is why you don't want to be a United States citizen. We're not in the sea. They are supposed to be over our seas for commerce, international commerce. Instead, they put us in the sea and somehow made us, like, I guess, the commodities that are in commerce. You know? So, okay, the sea jurisdiction, known as federal jurisdiction. So I want to emphasize, when you're a federal citizen, this is their jurisdiction. This is your jurisdiction. It allows dual citizenship. Okay, so there's a dual citizenship. Okay, let's read about this, because I'm not a little fuzzy on this. A person may be a citizen of the United States, a U.S. citizen, and of a state, and as such have different rights. Okay, U.S. versus Cruikshank, 92 U.S. 542. Okay, that's from 1875. From the federal viewpoint, most people have always been considered dual citizens, subject to the land while on the land, subject to the sea while on the sea. So the dual citizenship, you're subject. And that's a word we want to steer clear of. So, but that's the case that showed that we actually have, I bet it's the two last citizenships we saw. I believe that's what that is. Not the first one. Okay? But she's talking about the sea jurisdiction, so let's look at that again. See, in sea jurisdiction, known as federal jurisdiction, allows dual citizenship. But you see, we don't want to be a dual citizen with the sea, do we? Why do we need to be a citizen of the sea? You know what I'm saying? Okay? I think it's just a way to make it look like we have superior, standing, and we actually don't. So, okay, so let's read that one more time. The sea jurisdiction, which we don't want to be in, known as federal jurisdiction, allows dual citizenship. A person may be a citizen of the United States, a U.S. citizen, and of a state. She capitalized that. So that's the clue. That is a corporation too. Okay, that's what I wasn't getting before. So when you are a citizen of the state of New York, then you're still in the sea. Okay? And as such have different rights. Okay? From the federal viewpoint, most people have always been considered dual citizens, subject to the land, while on the land, subject to the sea, while on the sea. That's interesting. I gotta look more into that. But this is the one I want to read here, okay? This is called the Negro City. So that last citizenship we saw was formulated in 1868. And actually that, she didn't say it on that page, but it's the Negro Citizenship. So we did not get equal rights. We got a whole different citizenship, okay? They built a new one for us, okay? In 1868, a third kind of corporate citizenship came into play. So the other two were still corporate, okay? And they are C, okay? They cover the sea. So we have two different C. That's what I wasn't getting before. We have two different C, but she said it's a dual citizenship. I'm going to say, as I said earlier in a Zoom meeting I was on, that's like being a sovereign citizen, right? So it in other words, it's not really a thing. You can't be a slave and a free person at the same time. So if they're saying that you have a dual citizenship when you're on the land and when you're on the sea, I challenge that. I don't know how she's breaking that down, but I want to say it sounds like it's some sort of dual citizenship that you don't want either one of them. Okay, so let's be clear on the 1868, the all capital. That was the all capital citizen, United States citizen. Okay, a third kind of corporate. In 1868, a third kind of corporate citizenship came into play with the publication of the new corporate constitution you see, before it was for the United States. But the 1860, I guess she's saying that Constitution, was it 1868 when that Constitution came out? I gotta look that up. But she said it came into play with the publication of the new corporate constitution of the United States of America, Incorporated, the business entity charged with providing governmental services under contract with the states. The given reason for the new form of citizenship was the need to give recently freed Negroes, that would be the Indians. Remember, we were reclassified to Negro, but we were the full-blooded Indians. Okay, so this was to give recently freed Negroes. See, we weren't emancipated. We just went from, I don't know, the fire into the frying pan, you want to say? It makes it a little better if we frying in the frying pan. Okay? So I say that because usually the analogy of from the frying pan into the fire is things got much worse. But at the time, we must have thought that we were going from the fire into the frying pan. You know, that's what we thought anyway. But let's see. This form of citizenship was the need to give recently freed Negroes a form of citizenship without trying to force the several states to enact law giving them full rights as state citizens. That was the first citizenship we looked at. It was also a ploy by the new federal corporation to lay claim to the labor and property assets of the freed slaves for use as collateral backing the federal corporation's debts. So we went from being field Negroes to like a bank account slave. So we're sitting in the bank account waiting for our corporate de facto government to use us as basically money to pay their debts. You ever wonder why they rack up these crazy debts? This is why. Why would a nation want to spend its money so frivolously on things that are not really needed, like space exploration? Why would they want to throw so much money at stuff like that? Because they want to get that debt nice and high. So these kind of citizens, the Negro citizenship, which is the last one we saw, so they stay slaves forever. Emancipation? What? Are you crazy? You think we're gonna make you like, like a free person for real? Hell no. I think, So here's the case. We're not going to read it now, but if someone wants to read the case, it's called Hale versus Henkel Tells All. It's a landmark case. Should we read it? Just make it a whole hour and a half. It's a very interesting book. Okay, let's go for it. Okay, let's make it an hour, probably an hour and a half. So the Hale versus Henkel case tells all. I'm going to try to read this quickly. And this one I'm just going to read because it's a little challenging trying to read it off the screen. Okay, a landmark case regarding citizenship in general was decided in Hale versus Henkel, 201 U.S. 43, page 74 from 1906. Read: the individual state citizen may stand upon his constitutional rights as a citizen. That's with a capital C. He is entitled to carry on his private business in his own way. His power to contract is unlimited. He owes no duty to the state or to his neighbors to divulge his business or to open his doors to an investigation, so far as it may tend to incriminate him. He owes no such duty to the state since he receives nothing since he receives nothing there from beyond the protection of his life and liberty. That is what the government is supposed to protect our okay. His rights are such as existed by the law of the land long antecedent to the organization of the state, and he can only be taken from it, and can only be taken from him, his rights, by civil due process of law and in accordance with the Constitution. Among his rights are a refusal to incriminate himself, and immunity of himself and his property from arrest or seizure, except under a warrant of law. He owes nothing to the public so long as he does not trespass upon their rights. So that's a state citizen. I believe this is the first one. He owes nothing to the public so long as he does not trespass upon their rights. The court further declared in Hale versus Henkel, Supra 74 to 75, regarding U.S. citizens, which include all corporate citizens. Upon the other hand, the corporation is a creature of the state. It is presumed to be incorporated for the benefit of the public. It receives certain special privileges and franchises and holds them subject to the laws of the state. See, in the first instance, the person is not subject to the laws of the state with a capital S. Okay? And the limitations of its charter. He's not, and holds them. Okay, so in this one, we're held to the laws of the state and the limitations of its charter. Its powers are limited by law. So a United States citizen's powers are limited by law. It can make no contract not authorized by its charter. Its rights to act as a corporation are only preserved to it so long as it obeys the laws of its creation. There is a reserved right in legislature to investigate its contracts and find out whether it exceeded its powers. So a United States citizen is going to, they can be investigated, whereas the state citizen, again, he's immunity and his property from arrest or seizure except under a warrant of law. So his right, the key thing with the first state citizen is his rights existed by the law of the land. Okay, that's what you're not going to hear in the two latter citizenships. It's not going to be anything about the land. Okay. Okay. It would be a strange anomaly to hold that a state having chartered a corporation to make use of certain franchises could not, in the exercise of its sovereignty, inquire how these franchises had been employed and whether they had been abused, and demand the production of the corporate books and papers for that purpose. So the corporation has all access to whatever you do whenever they feel, basically. You know, the private civilian state citizen has vastly different status than any federal United States citizen, especially corporate citizens. So a little picture here gives you a little visual. So the corporate citizen is all wrapped up in chains. The federal citizen, it's a bill taxed, he's taxed like crazy. And the state citizen, he's like, what the hell are y'all going through over there? Why would you want to be a corporate or a federal citizen when you could be a state citizen like me? And I am about to walk off out of this scene because I just feel so bad for you guys. Help! Help! I can't do nothing for you. You said you want to be a United States citizen, dudes. And that's what you get. Okay? So I want to read now, because I was a little unsure about what they were talking about in this first part. So let's read it again to see how, a state citizen is not subject to the chains and the bills that the federal and corporate citizen is subject to. The individual state citizen may stand upon his constitutional rights. See, how did I miss that? So he can call upon the Constitution. Right now, if you are one of these two guys, the two over here, when you go into a court and say, but I have a constitutional right, the court is going to say, you are in contempt of court. Take him out of here and arrest you. You're held in contempt because you can't call on the Constitution, okay? Unless you're a state citizen or American national of one of the states. So should we read that more? Okay. May stand upon his constitutional rights as a citizen. He is entitled to carry on his private business in his own way. His power to contract is unlimited. He owes no duty to the state or his neighbors to divulge his business. I want to, try to put that picture of that. Okay, we come up on an hour and a half, and I wanted to make this fast. But for instance, what do I want to say? If I had a business and I'm under constitutional protections, and I'm not causing any harm, as we said, if I'm not, what do you say? If I'm not hurting anyone in any, tortuous way or any criminal way, then I'm allowed to do my business. I want to use for example, selling maybe weed or something like that. Well, now we can because they done copyrighted the weed and all that, whatever. So that's their crap, and of course they want you to sell it because they're going to get a cut. Let me see what if I wanted to. I want to think of something that normally we said that we got to get some kind of. I can't think of anything right now. I thought I had an idea. I was gonna have something to do with a business that would otherwise be seen as. I'll use liquor, alcohol, or something like that. I don't believe you would have to have a license to sell alcohol because you're not under their jurisdiction. Licenses are given when you're under the federal jurisdiction. As a free person, if I'm not harming someone in a criminal way, uh, then I don't need a license. You see, there's some things you don't need a license for. That's an example I can think of. It could, I don't know if that's the best example, but that's just trying to give an idea. So, okay, so let's finish. His power to contract is unlimited. He owes no duty to the state or his neighbors to divulge his business. I don't even have to tell you what my business is, or to open his doors to an investigation. You don't have to. You can't even be. I don't have to be investigated. I'm free. So even if I ran a brothel, you know what I'm saying? I don't have to I don't have to tell you what my business is, so far as it may tend to incriminate him. Oh, that's interesting. He owes no such duty to the state since he receives nothing there from beyond the protection of his life and property. So again, all a government is supposed to do is protect your life and your property. But ours is like doing too much. And this thing with the jabs, that's not what they mean. Okay, that is basically stepping on your right to say no. Okay. And that's why it was mandated, because a mandate is not, But hey, they got us as if we're in a perpetual state of war, so they can do this kind of thing to federal United States and U.S. citizens. So again, his rights are such as existed by the law of the land. See, we're not in the sea. That's a biggie. And in accordance with the Constitution. He can only be his rights can only be taken from him by due process of law and in accordance with the Constitution. That gets a little deeper, because when you're in a court of law as a state citizen, to be judged by your peers means that it would have to be other state citizens that judge me. You see? Not a United States citizen. When you're in a court of your peers, they have to be on your same level. So a United States citizen, they're not my peers. They're property. I have to be among other free people in a constitutional court. Okay? So let's see. I think I'll leave it there. It's 1:27, an hour and 27 minutes. The individual, like the corporation, cannot be taxed for the mere privilege of existing. The corporation is taxed just by virtue of existing. An individual cannot be taxed for existing. When you're an American national or an American state citizen, you don't have to be taxed for existing. A corporation has to be taxed. The corporation is an artificial entity which owes its existence and charter powers to the state. So as a state citizen, the corporation owes its existence to you. But the individual's right to live and own property are natural rights, for the enjoyment of which an excise cannot be imposed. That was from the case, Oregon Supreme Court, Redfield versus Fisher. I'll put it up if you want to look it up. Okay, Redfield. Can you see it? Redfield versus Fisher there. Right here. Right here. Oh, guy. But that's the case. Redfield versus Fisher. 292 P. What was P again? Pacific. Ooh. Oh man, Pacific Supplement. Oh, I forgot the name of that. I forgot what P meant. I used to, ugh. But look it up. Oregon Supreme Court, Redfield versus Fisher, 292 P 813 at page 819. This is from 1930. And let's see. They do have an excerpt. A mere statement of this fact may not seem very significant. Corporations, after all, are not supposed to exercise the governmental powers with which the Bill of Rights was concerned. Okay, let's read that again. Corporations, after all, are not supposed to exercise the governmental powers with which the Bill of Rights was concerned. But this has been radically changed by the emergence of the public-private state. Today, private institutions do exercise governmental power. More, indeed, than government itself. We have two governments in America. Then one under the Constitution and a much greater one. Okay, let's read that again. We have two governments in America then. One under the Constitution and a much greater one not under the Constitution. In short, the inapplicability of our Bill of Rights is one of the crucial facts of American life today. Oh my God, did you get that? Oh my God. Okay, I think we're going to close after getting this. I want to hold it up so you can read it, because maybe if you can see it for yourself, it'll be you'll get it, you know? So what I just read, what I'm hearing is that bottom part. Oh man, can I get this better? You're going to have to pause it, please. A mere statement of this fact may not seem very significant. Okay? May not seem very significant. Corporations, after all, are not supposed to exercise governmental powers. See, so the United States District of Columbia is not even supposed to exercise governmental powers, is what I'm reading, with which the Bill of Rights was concerned. Remember I was saying that people were under the Bill of Rights? I hope that's what I said. No, I was saying the Declaration of Independence. But here, I believe this is what I might have meant. The powers with which the Bill of Rights was concerned. But this has been radically changed by the emergence of the public-private state. Today, private institutions do exercise governmental power. More, indeed, than government itself. Oh, my God. So isn't that an oligarchy or fascism? We have two governments in America then, one under the Constitution and a much greater one not under the Constitution. You see, that's when you will be called in contempt of court, because the greater, corporation is not under the Constitution. In short, the inapplicability of our Bill of Rights. See, that's where our rights were. We declare our Bill of Rights, okay? In short, the inapplicability of our Bill of Rights is one of the crucial facts of American life today. Chief Judge Fox, U.S. District Court of Michigan, commenting on Milo Suzuki versus Sears Roebuck. Oh, I said Roebuck. So he had to take Sears and Roebuck to court. And I guess he lost. 346 F Sup 119. Ooh, boy. That, folks, you see, you don't want to be a United States citizen, okay? This is what I opted out of when I became an American state national. Because look at that. The corporation has more. Today's corporation, I want to read that again and then I'll close. It has more power indeed than the government itself. Let's read that again. But this has been, oh God, radically, I can't get this right. And I'm so frustrated with that. Okay. 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 But this has been radically changed by the emergence of the public-private state. Okay, the public-private state. Today, private institutions do exercise governmental power, more indeed than the government itself. We have two governments in America, then, one under the Constitution and a much greater one not under the Constitution. In short, the inapplicability of our Bill of Rights is one of the crucial facts of American life today. Oh my God. I want to make it better so you can just pause it and just, go ahead and get your read on. This is a travesty, people. This is a travesty. We don't have to be experts at law, but we should be able to get these basics. Okay? Pause it, please, and read and weep. You see what they're doing here? Okay, so we're still in the 30s. I'm speechless. Now, I feel like I want to read this over and over again to make it stick, but I knew enough to change my status, put you that way. So I'm going to try to keep it in the 30s. This is from this book, You Know Something is Wrong When, An American Affidavit of Probable Cause, by Anna Maria Reitzinger and James Clinton Belcher. Illustrated by Paul Allen Snover. I love the illustrations in this book. Thank you. Thanks to Paul. You can read the back if you want. What can you do with this book? You can change the world. Give copies to the bureaucrats, local, state, and federal. Remind them who they really work for. Okay. And then if you want to make donations. Okay. Okay, I guess I'm going to see if I post this. Thank you for watching. I hope this was informative. I'm telling you, this is what made me change my citizenship. I did not relinquish my American, what do I want to call it, native standing. We don't have to be federal citizens. We really don't. We have 3 to choose from, with one being the one you really want, and that's called American State National, or American State Citizen, a citizen of the state. If I could say it this way, you don't have to be a United States citizen, although it sounds like you're a citizen of all the states. You don't have to be. So it's a semantic type of thing, because you hear it and it sounds like it's the one you want, because that makes you a citizen for all 50 states. But in the practical part, or the practical reality is, I don't need to be United States, like, a citizen of all 50 states, because my body can only be in one at one time. And the one that I'm in is the one that I really want to have my superior rights in. The states are already in a union, so we don't need a government or a citizenship that's producing this fraudulent type of citizenship where we end up just being subject under the government instead of them working for us. I don't know. I hope I explained it okay. But I think I'm going to stop now. And I hope this is the video. I do a video and then I look at it. I don't like something in the way I looked. And I don't like the way I sounded. Something I didn't cover. And then I have to do it all again. But it's been a while. And yes, it's a little bit over the hour and a half mark. So it's been a while. So I kind of want to jump in because I just need to do a video. And I see that I've gotten new subscribers, and just wanted to let them know that I'm still active. I might not do a video every month, but I try to keep at it when things come at me in a way that I think I can explain it better. So that's what draws me back. And I've really been wanting to talk about this citizenship thing. Because I think there's a lot of people under the impression that, I can't give up my United States citizenship because then I'm going to be a foreigner and they're not going to protect me. That's not it. There's 3 different citizenships. The latter one, or the most recent one of 1868, made us slaves. And along with that, they got very slick with their new constitution because they took the 13th Amendment, and maybe I should have been able to pull that up for you, but they took out 18 sections of the 13th Amendment that dealt with slavery. So they changed the Constitution to suit the slavery that they were about to impose on the people. They took 18 sections of the 13th Amendment and left only 2. I believe it's the first 2. I don't even know which order it was in, but they boiled it down to 2 because they intended on making slaves. And then the 14th Amendment says something about you shall not question the national debt. So they made slavery, again, not a physical thing with your master beating you with the whip. No, they went straight to your pockets, and now they're trying to get into your DNA. For those who know, let the church say amen. For those who know what I'm saying, this is how far they're taking this thing. So, in other words, say now I change my status and now I'm a free man on the land, pretty much sovereign. It's, from what I'm reading, a state citizen is sovereign because you're back on top of the government. You're top man now, okay? You're not on the bottom, okay? So, say for instance now I transfer my citizenship or revoke my United States citizenship, or repatriate. See, there's expatriate and there's repatriate, I believe. I'll put it in the notes section if I got it wrong. But so in other words, you're not. I got to look that up. I'm not sure. But either way, if you get into another one of the 3 that are available to you in the Americas, you're good. You're still protected. But you have a higher authority than the other 2 forms of citizenship. So what I was going to say is they've gotten so insidious with this game, this corporate game, this sea game, land jurisdiction of the sea, that they've figured out that, okay, how can we own them and collect our debt, the bogus debt, because really we are the credit and the debt. In other words, we as American as American state nationals, we are the credit. We're the creditor. So the debt is owed to us. And I can't explain it as better than that. But so, okay, the point I'm trying to make, they've gotten so insidious with this that, say now I do transfer my citizenship to the state, and I'm now a New Yorker, officially a New Yorker, not a resident of New York, but a state national of New York. Say I do that now. But if I have something in my body that can be legally brought as evidence that I am owned, or that has me as that like almost like being a branded cattle. So what I'm trying to say is, if you have a patented substance in your body from a corporation, the corporation considers that they own you, and you are considered in their realm that you're not even a human being anymore. So in other words, you don't get the rights that a human being get, like we the people. You're a we the trans people. You're a transhuman. So that, I guess they're hoping that in a last ditch effort, when they know people are waking up, they want to at least say, no, but I own you because now you're a transhuman. You belong to me now, no matter what you do. But you know what? I think there's going to be a lot of cases that involved, was that a lawful thing to do when there was no full disclosure, insisting that it's a vaccine, when it's gene therapy, and as a state national, I can say this, I stand on my Constitution provision that says I have a right to free speech, so this is why I can talk like this. I have a right to, that's what the Constitution was about. Free speech, right to bear arms, When you are taken outside of that Constitution and you're held in contempt of court because now you're basically in the C jurisdiction, then you don't have that right anymore. I hope that helps. Just trying to make sure, I haven't done a video in a while. I don't want to get on here and not be understood, But maybe I'll try to, put some notes in the description box. Keep not calling that right. I think I'm done here. And so, again, I apologize for the angle thing going on. I don't think I'll be doing videos like this again. I'll just have to use my ironing board as a table or something. I don't know. Thank you for watching. I want to say, be highly favored as opposed to blessed. As a brother, what's his name, Chief Kalanago, has informed me or everyone that if you go with the etymology of bless, be less, we don't want to do that. So be highly favored is what he said, and I agree with that. I guess I'll close. Be highly favored. May you once again, especially my fellow indigenous copper-colored Americans, may we once again be restored to our rightful place on our land, reclaiming our birthright, and becoming free men and women of the land, our land. Thank you again for watching. Have a good one.